Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to today's video. I'm Brian K, and today we're going to continue talking about our triads in a blues, okay? So we're in the key of A today. It's key of A kind of day. And we're looking at a 12-bar blues, 1-4-5 progression in the key of A, which is going to have A major, D major, and E major chords of some kind in our 12 bar, right? So 1-4-5 progression. And we're going to add a note to the triad, and it's going to be these diagonal triads that we've been looking at, right? How to connect things in a diagonal fashion, get more mileage here on the fretboard that way. And it's, you know, a more functional way of using the triad. So before we get into it, I do want to say thank you for everybody who has liked, shared, and subscribed to the channel. It really does help us continue to keep bringing, continue to keep bringing the content out here. And if you haven't done it already and you like the content that I am bringing out here on YouTube or Rumble, whatever platform you're checking me out on, go ahead, like, share, and subscribe to the channel because it really does help the channel to grow, okay? And check the links in the description for other ways that you can help me support the channel and keep bringing the content out here. Okay, with that said, we're going to talk about how we can trick out the triad, right, and say an arpeggio of like a dominant 7 chord. So we're looking at like more of like a downtown blues with dominant 7 chords, okay? So A, D, and E 7 chords are what we're going to primarily be looking at here. So A7, D7, E7 chords, right, in our blues. And all we need to do with the triad, right, our major triad of 1-3-5, a root note, a major third, and a perfect fifth, right? And remember how we were connecting these up in the key of A? We have a nice diagonal triad, right? 1-3-5, low E string, 5th fret. The third's going to be at the 4th fret of the A string. Then you're going to have a 5th right here at the 7th fret of the A string. And then if you go directly up to the next string, D string on the 7th fret, you have another A root note, and then 6th fret of the G string, you have the major third, and then you have a 5th up here at the 9th fret of the G string. And then if you continue on up to the next triad we can get, which is going to be the A note here at the 10th fret of the B string with the major third, at the 9th fret of the high E, and then the 5th up there at the 12th fret of the high E string, right? There's our triad. Now all we need to do to make this a dominant 7 chord is throw that flatted 7, right? That dominant 7 degree inside the triad. So we just need to add that in there, okay? And the dominant 7 chords have that flatted 7, right? So that flatted 7 is going to be a whole step below your root note. The major 7, right, half step below, but this is a flat dominant 7 chord, not a major 7, right? You got a whole step below the root. Any root note you have, in this case if it's an A chord, right? Right, you go 2 frets below that A note, and that's where your dominant 7 lives. Okay, so all you have to do is add that into your triad. So if you want to say A7 now, or say that A7 arpeggio, you do the same thing you did with the triad, just simply add that whole step below the root note, the dominant 7, right? And you have an A7 arpeggio, okay? Right? Just like we played before, right? But okay, that flat 7 on the D string is going to be at the 5th fret on the D string, and then, it's a G note going up to the root A up at the 7th fret of the D string. So now you have that one extra note. And then you just rinse and repeat, right? You just add that to your other triad shapes and have that A7 dominant 7 arpeggio. Anywhere that there's a root note, you just go a whole step below and you have your dominant 7 tone. So you see, you add that into those triads that, you know, we've been talking about before, right? And you have this big, huge, nice diagonal dominant 7 arpeggio, which is, quite frankly, more functional and a hipper way of being able to play these things than only staying in a block position. Block positions are totally cool. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, you could say the same thing, like in the position from like low E string to high E string, and kind of stay contained within like the chord shape itself. But this takes you out of that, and it makes it a better way, really, to be able to cruise around the neighborhoods of your fretboard in the key and on a blues. And you want to get to different chords too, because that's half the coolness of being able to outline like your blues progression. If you want to start really sounding super hip, you start to take these arpeggios, right, and you can put them off of all the dominant 7 chords in the progression and pepper them in with the scale things that you already know, like your minor pentatonic lines. Start to put them in there along with the scale tones, and then you have a whole bunch more that you can start saying with your blues that get you out of sounding like you're just this guy who's running scales all the time, right? And that's not what we want to sound like when we're taking a guitar solo. We don't want to be that guy. We want to be the guy who has something to say, not the guy who sounds like he's practicing his scales, right? So this will help put that into your playing, and everything is movable. So, you know, you could do this with all of your other chords. The D chord, D7, right? Do the same thing with that. The other shape to help you connect these is going to be, we'll stay in the key of A, right, is this one up here. Remember, we have the triads that start up here at the 12th fret too, because you have an A chord up here. And you also have an A7 bar chord up here with the root note, 12th fret of the A string, right? Same thing is going on. You have your root note, major 3rd, 5th, root note, major 3rd, 5th, root note. So you have this triad shape, arpeggiated triad in this case. Another diagonal shape that gets you out of the block, that helps you get even more wholesome goodness going on with this triad, which can be, yes, you got it, tricked out as a dominant 7 arpeggio. So this one's living at the 12th fret off the A string. There's your root note for the triad, right? Root note on the 12th fret A string, major 3rd is going to be the 11th fret of the D string. Then you have the 5th at the 14th fret of the D string, right? There's your triad. We've all heard that if you go to the dog park or to the horse races, right? We hear that arpeggio used a lot. But then, well, there's the root note, right, again on the G string up here at the 14th fret of the G string. Remember, go a whole step below that. There's your flat 7 or your dominant 7, right? Okay? And then continuing on now from this octave above where we started, right? We're up here at the 14th fret G string. You have the major 3rd, and now we're on strings tuned 3rd, so it's in the same spot, it's on the same fret. 14th fret G string, go up to the 14th fret of the B string, and you have your major 3rd, cruise on up to the 17th fret of the B string, and you have your 5th, right? So, and then if you were to go, again, 17th fret right here, on the high E, you have the root note for the next arpeggio, right? But remember, all you have to do is go down a whole step from the root note, you have your flat 7, so you can add that note in there, and you have that dominant 7 arpeggio. And you have that shape too. They're movable, they can be applied to all your chords. Move them around if you want to do it for the E chord, you know? You can stay in the block or go diagonal. Right? You've got that for the E or for the D. As long as you have a D root note, you just kind of play this shape on the root note, you got your arpeggio. And so on. So let's get some musical examples rocking, okay? And I will show you how this stuff sounds in action. Stand by. Okay, so there you have it. As you can see, all we have to do is add one note, in this case that flat 7, and you have a really cool diagonal dominant 7 arpeggio that you can cruise across the fretboard and say a whole lot of wholesome goodness in your blues. All right, more on this topic of diagonals to come. And in the meantime, enjoy the information, enjoy playing your blues, and enjoy playing your guitar. Peace.